There are times when you want to isolate a group of servers and their network traffic away from everybody else. Now, one of the ways that we started off this module with to do that was in the Virtual Switch Manager, you could create a private network. That's one way to do it, but there's more of a traditional way to deal with this in our network environment. If you think about a physical switch with physical servers, we could create VLANs on that switch. Those VLANs are isolated from each other unless we want to set up routing between them. And we could do things like create specialized firewall rules for security. But we can do that same thing with Hyper-V, and we can utilize this in a couple of different ways. One of the ways is right here. And I had shown this a little bit earlier, but let's take a little bit more look at it. So I've got a virtual switch that's tied to a physical adapter. I can enable what VLAN I want him to be able to communicate with. And this could be a VLAN out on the physical switch that I want him to use and give him a number. So let's give him a number 5, and I can apply that. Now that'll isolate his traffic. I can also go to switch number 2, enable VLAN. This means, by the way, when you're enabling this, that it's becoming tagged. And I can have him talk to VLAN 10 and say apply. We can also set up this isolation between virtual machines that are on the same network. So take a look. I've got 2 virtual machines, server 1, and it's on this virtual switch. And I've got server 2, and I'm going to make sure that he's on the same virtual switch. Yep, there he is on the same virtual switch. Now here's the idea. These 2 servers can see each other, and they're seeing each other's traffic. Let's say that I don't want server 1 and server 2 to see each other's traffic. I can enable the virtual LAN identification for each one of these. Now this is actually something that gets marked in the frame of the packet when it's being sent out. Now this adapter is becoming tagged, and I could say, he's going to use VLAN 10. Now I could have 5 other VMs that are set to VLAN 10 and they would all communicate with each other. But I want you to notice that was server 2. Server 1, we're going to put him on a different VLAN to separate or isolate their traffic a little bit further. So I'll go down to the network adapter, enable it, and let's say we'll put him on VLAN 5. And any other machines that I put on VLAN 5, they can all communicate together, but they'll be isolated from that VLAN 10. Now, depending upon your networking situation and your networking needs, you can go deeper than this. Now, what I've just shown you is what's referred to as access mode. And so we've set these up for VLANs, and they've been tagged as access. But you can also go set these up as trunk, where they do have communication between them. And there's also even further isolation techniques that you can use called PVLANs. Now, if you need to get further into this, there's plenty of information on TechNet. And usually this means you're also working with your network team as well to establish what the criteria is for creating this network isolation. And you've either determined it on a security reason or perhaps a bandwidth and performance reason that you want to create this network isolation. As a separate note to this, a lot of these settings are not a lot of them, all of them are also available in PowerShell. So I'm just going to do get help on VLAN. And I can get the VLAN information. I can also set the VLAN information, and you would use the set VM network adapter VLAN commandlet to configure your VLAN settings, including if you wanted to do trunking and set up the PVLANs as well. So you have a lot of flexibility with what you need to do depending upon how your environment is configured and what your environmental needs for isolation are. But before we go much further, let's take a look at synthetic and legacy virtual network adapters.